Five, four, three, two, one. Now, let's discuss the circumstances that may result in other than an unqualified opinion. So we have discussed that there are four types of opinion that is issued by an auditor. The first nga is an unqualified opinion. Second is qualified opinion, a disclosure, and an adverse opinion. So an unqualified opinion is an independent auditor's judgment that a company's financial statements are fairly and appropriately presented. After examining all the evidences that supports the financial statements, the auditor gives a reasonable assurance that the financial statements are presented fairly and in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Now, based on ISA 700, there are at least two circumstances where the auditor may not be able to express an unqualified opinion. So what are those two? The first one is limitation of scope. So it is where the auditor's inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. So here, may duda si auditor dun sa validity ng information na nasa financial statements. Kasi nga, yung maaaring dahilan nun is number one, the entity's accounting records have been destroyed. So, hindi niya yun ma-access and di niya ma-verify whether the data in the financial statements are really real and did exist or tama ba yung figures na nandun. Second is the accounting records of a significant component have been seized indefinitely by governmental authorities. Ayun, hindi niya din ma-access. So, hindi niya ma-verify kung tama ba yung nasa financial statements and whether they are fairly presented. So, mayroong pagdududa or mayroong doubt dun sa fair representation ng financial statements. Now, the second circumstance is a disagreement with management. So, under disagreement with management, the auditor is able to conclude objectively. He has received all the information and explanations he considers necessary for the purpose of the audit, but his conclusion is at variance with the position adopted by management of the view given by the accounts. So, mayroong doubt dito si auditor na maaring there's something wrong with the financial statements kasi after niya mag-gather yung evidences, ay nag-conclude siya na something is wrong with the financial statements and they do not agree. Hindi siya nag-agree dun sa gusto ni management na yun yung na-apply ni management sa financial statements. Ano yung maaring pagmula ng disagreement between the management and auditor? Number one is the acceptability of the accounting policies. Maaring yung ginamit na treatment or policies ni management, hindi yun yung dapat niyang gamitin as na find out ni auditor. Number two, method of policy application, including the adequacy of valuations and disclosures in the financial statements. Number three, compliance of the financial statements with the relevant regulation and statutory requirement. So here naman sa disagreement with management, si auditor found out na something is wrong with the financial statements and yung management is unwilling na maitama whatever is wrong with the financial statements. Now, the third circumstance is the inherent uncertainties, which is a combination of limitation of scope and disagreement with management. So these result from circumstances in which it is not possible to reach an objective conclusion about the outcome of a situation due to the circumstances themselves, rather than due to any limitation of the auditor's scope. The auditor should form an opinion on the adequacy of the accounting treatment of such inherent uncertainty. This will involve consideration of the following. the appropriateness of any accounting policies adopted by management in treating the effect of such uncertainties, the reasonableness of the estimates included in the financial statements, and the adequacy of disclosures. Now, we have here a chart. Nandito yung tatlo nating circumstances that may result in other than an unqualified opinion. So we have limitation of scope, disagreement with management, and yung inherent uncertainties. So as discussed earlier, limitation of scope, ito yung insufficiency of evidence to back up or to prove that the financial statements are presented fairly. So, yung impact ba nung insufficiency na yon or yung limitation na yon, is it pervasive to the financial statements? Para malaman natin kung anong type ng opinion ang i-issue ni auditor other than an unqualified opinion. So if it is yes, if it is pervasive to the financial statements, auditor will issue a disclaimer. Now, if the impact to the financial statements is not pervasive, then the auditor will issue a qualified opinion. Now, let's go to the disagreement with management. So, ito nga yung may disagreement between the auditor and management, and where the auditor found out something wrong with the FS after niyang masuri yung evidences, but then the management is not willing to correct whatever is wrong. So, yung impact ba nun to the FS is pervasive? If it is not pervasive, the auditor will issue a qualified opinion. Now, if it is pervasive to the financial statements, then the auditor will issue an adverse opinion. Now, let's proceed to the inherent uncertainties. Ito nga yung combination ng limitation of scope and disagreement with management. So here, titignan natin yung component niya kung saan mayroong disagreement with management. So if yung disagreement with management, yung impact nun is pervasive to the financial statements, then the auditor will issue an adverse opinion. If not naman, if hindi pervasive yung effect nun, titignan ni auditor whether yung both the limitation of scope and disagreement with management, yung combination ba nila is it pervasive to the financial statements? If it is no, then the auditor will apply yung professional judgment niya, whether to issue an adverse opinion or a qualified opinion.